Welcome back, everyone, here at the Divine Channel where we discuss everything child development. It's your host, Kadeen. In today's episode, we'll be diving into the history behind Jean Piaget and his famous theory of cognitive development. Let's get into it. Jean Piaget was a Swiss psychologist. He was born in 1896. He was best known for his pioneering work in child development, particularly in cognitive development theory. He was originally trained in biology and epistemology. Piaget's interdisciplinary background heavily influenced his approach to understanding how children learn. He observed children as active participants in constructing their knowledge rather than passive recipients of information, a revolutionary concept at the time. Piaget's theory, situated with the discipline of developmental psychology, emphasizes the importance of the stages in cognitive development. His work, developed primarily in the early to mid 20th century, laid the foundation for constructivism, a theory that asserts knowledge is built through interaction with the environment. His observations and conclusions about how children think, reason, and learn have profoundly impacted educational practices, particularly in early childhood education. Piaget's ideas continue to influence pedagogical methods today, especially in child centered approaches like Reggio Emilia and Montessori philosophies. Let's a quick look at the historical context of Piaget's theory. He's a key figure in shaping how we teach and understand young learners today. While Jean Piaget's cognitive development theory has shaped our understanding of how children learn, it hasn't been without its critiques. Some researchers believe that Piaget underestimated children's ability. Studies have shown that kids can often grasp certain concepts like understanding that objects exist even when they can't see them at a much younger ages than Piaget suggested. Another critique is that his stages of development are too rigid. Piaget proposed fixed stages, but many believe that children's cognitive development is more flexible and continuous. Not all children fit neatly into these stages. There is a concern about cultural bias. Most of Piaget's research was done with children from Western middle class families, which might not represent how children in other cultures develop. This limits how universally his theory can be applied. Before we dive deeper into our discussion, let's take a moment to hear from our sponsor. They're committed to supporting children's learning through engaging play, much like the principles we have been exploring today. Here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Today's episode is brought to you by Be and Happy, the best toy company that promotes interactive learning through play, just like Jean Piaget. At Being Happy, our philosophy supports the growth of children's minds, which are constantly evolving. That's why our toys are a favorite for kids and parents alike. Fun fact, Being Happy was founded by a child, someone who truly understood how children learn through play. Whether it's sensory toys for infants, puzzles for toddlers, science kits for older kids, or board games that promote social skills, Being Happy has something to support every child's learning needs. Watch your child excel at school while having a fun at every stage of development.
So we're going to get into the second portion of our podcast. We will explore Jean Piaget's four stages of cognitive development. I've invited four special guests to help bring each stage to life with examples from real classrooms. First, we have Arius, an early childhood educator, to talk about the sensory motor stage, which happens from birth to about 2 years old.
Thanks for having me. In this stage, children learn about the world through their senses and actions. A classic example is object permanence, when babies just start to understand that things exist even when they can't see them. I've seen it in my class when I play peekaboo with the infants. At first they think I've disappeared, but soon enough they giggle, knowing I'm just hiding behind my hands.
Thank you so much, Arius. That was a really good example of Piaget's stage of sensory motor. Next up, we have Anaya, who will walk us through the pre operational stage, where children begin to use symbols and language but still think very literally.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Yes, at this stage, kids start using their imaginations. I love seeing how they engage in pretend play. One of my students pretended a block was a phone, talking to imaginary friends. They understand symbols but struggle with logical reasoning. For example, if I pour water from a wide glass into a tall glass, they might think that the tall glass has more water, even though it's the same amount.
Thank you, Anaya, for explaining Piaget's pre-operational stage. You know, my 4-year-old niece, she demonstrates the stage through her imaginative play, such as dressing up in her mom's clothing and pretending she's going to the grocery store. This kind of symbolic play showcases her ability to use her imagination and represents her experiences, aligning perfectly with Piaget's observations of cognitive development in young children. Next, Rebecca will share her classroom experiences related to Piaget's concrete operational stage.
Absolutely. At this stage, kids can problem solve more logically, but still need concrete examples. In my classroom, I use hands on activities like group projects or math problems with manipulatives. For instance, when we do a group project on ecosystems, students can categorize animals and plants logically, but they need to see physical pictures or objects to help them understand abstract concepts like habitat or food chain.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for your insightful example on Piaget's concrete operational stage. Your explanation helped clarify how children begin to think logically about concrete events and understand concepts like conversation, which aligns with my own experiences in the classroom. As we explore Piaget's theory further, it is essential to consider the ethical implications of applying his ideas in the classroom. Langford and White 2019 discussed the importance of ethical practice in early childhood education, emphasizing that understanding children's cognitive development requires us to reflect on our teaching methods and how they align with ethical standards. Their insight remind us to be mindful of the developmental needs and perspectives of each child as we implement Piaget stages. Lastly, we invite Ryan, who will talk about the formal operational stage, where teens start to think abstractly and hypothetically.
That's right. In this stage, students begin to engage in more complex thought processes. In my class, I encourage debates and hypothetical discussions. For example, when discussing social issues, students are able to think about different perspectives and what could happen under different conditions. Like, what if everybody had access to free healthcare? This kind of abstract thinking is new at this stage.
Thank you, Ryan, for clarifying Piaget's formal operational stage. Understanding the stage is crucial for early childhood educators, as it formed their approach to fostering critical thinking and problem solving skills in students. By linking Piaget's theory to the Ontario FDK curriculum, educators can create learning experiences that aligns with children's cognitive development, ensuring that instruction is both developmentally appropriate and effective in promoting deeper understanding. As we wrap up today's episode, let's recap what we have learned about Jean Piaget's cognitive development theory. We explore the 4 stages: the sensory motor stage, where infants learn through their senses; the pre operational stage, characterized by imaginative play; the concrete operational stage, where logical thinking begins; and the formal operational stage, where abstract thought develops. We have heard from our guests how these stages manifest in real classroom experiences and the practical implication for educators. It's clear that Piaget's insight into child's development emphasized the importance of hands-on learning and play, shaping our approach to teaching and supporting every child's growth. While Piaget's theory has its critiques, particularly regarding the fluidity of the development and the role of social interaction, it remains a foundational framework that informs our practices today. By integrating these concepts, educators can create engaging, developmentally appropriate learning environments. Thank you to our guests for sharing their experiences and to our listeners for joining us in exploring Piaget's legacy in early childhood education. Remember, as Piaget taught us, children are active participants in their learning journey. Let's continue to support their curiosity and development in a meaningful way. If you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. As we wrap up today's episode, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the valuable insights from our references. Today's podcast was sponsored by the Ontario Ministry of Education's The Kindergarten Program, which emphasizes the importance of developmentally appropriate practices in early childhood education. Ontario Ministry of Education, 2016. The Perspectives from Lanford and White, 2019, on ethical practice in early childhood have also provided helpful resources for understanding Piaget's theory. Their work reminds us that while applying these cognitive development stages, we must remain attentive to the ethical implications and the unique needs of each child.